Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.
Roach, and I listen to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
People, this is what happens when you have a touch screen. My mouse pad is broken, and I'm trying to operate this thing on the touch screen. So you just saw me zoom in, out, Kima come in, out. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very quick Caribbean Cricket Podcast. What's this, a Rumshot Diaries? What it is a very quick look at the likely team to play against Scotland in the opening game of the T20 World Cup. What do we call it? The qualifiers? The qualifiers for the main stage? Or do we just call it the T20 World Cup? Because our tournament starts on Monday. 5 o'clock start in the UK. So what's that? That'll be 12 midnight Eastern time, 1 o'clock in the morning, Jamaican time. I'll be doing a live stream, people. So for those of you that will actually stay up or get up for the opening game of the World Cup, join us over on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast live stream for at least the first innings, maybe a bit of the second innings, but obviously I've got work to go to as well. So what I thought I'd just do a quick video looking at the likely lineup for that first game against Scotland. Obviously, if you follow us over on 99.94 DM, where we do our tri-weekly West Indies show, Santoki and I have already had a go at naming the team that we think will play against Scotland, and both of us have disagreed over essentially one person or one position in terms of what we think will happen. But I thought I'd just, on our actual own channel, because it's been a while since I uploaded something to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Obviously, there will be lots of live streams running, at least 3. At least 3, maybe more if we can survive in the competition. But obviously, once the live stream starts and the content will be back up again on Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I had to take a bit of a break after CPL. I was tired, boys, still am. But anyways, this is the World Cup squad. Let's put it up on the screen. So just as a reminder, the West Indies World Cup squad: Nicholas Pooran, captain; Rovman Powell, vice captain; Shamar Brooks, Yannick Correa, Johnson Charles, Sheldon Cottrell, Jason Holder, Akil Hussain, Alzari Joseph, Brandon King, Evan Lewis, Kyle Mayers, Obed McCoy, Raymond Reefer, and Odean Smith. Now, first things first, the times for the kind of permutations, the time for all the discussion about who should have been there, who shouldn't be there, who was or wasn't picked, that's done now. World Cup starts in under 48 hours. So done the talk about why is this player not there and how comes he didn't get picked and so on and so forth. It is what it is. We've got who we've got. Since the players touched down in Australia about a week and a half ago, we've played 2 T20s versus Australia as a warm-up. Obviously lost them both, although the first one was actually went down to the final 3 balls. Second one we lost comfortably, beat UAE in a giggle match. 13 people had a bat. Some players, Obed McCoy, bowled 5 overs, for example. So we beat UAE in a giggle warm-up match quite comfortably. And then the Netherlands warm-up match was washed out. Now, the problem is, of course, with those 4 warm-up matches, are we any closer to knowing what the likely side is going to be for the first game against Scotland? Because if you go through the warm-up games, Johnson Charles played all 3 of them. So does that mean Johnson Charles is going to play in the first game against Scotland? Evan Lewis only played 1, the game against UAE. Kyle Mayers took a rest in the game against UAE. Brandon King hasn't been opening in any of the warm-up games. Obed McCoy only played 2. Sheldon Cottrell, I think, played 2. So it's not wholly certain from the warm-up games. Shamar Brooks obviously flew in late and could only join the side for the 2 warm-up games versus UAE and Netherlands. Obviously, Netherlands got washed out. So Shamar Brooks has only faced 4 balls in the middle. So we can't say with any certainty what the lineup is going to be. So this video isn't me saying, and this is the definitive West Indies lineup versus Scotland. Of course not. I don't know the team. I don't know what Phil Nicholas and Co are going to decide, Desi, if he has a say. I don't know what they're going to decide on the best permutations to play against Scotland, but I'm going to have a go at working out where they go from here. Whatever happens against Scotland, they've got to pick their best side. And the time for gambling, the time for maybe we should give this player one more goal to see. Yes, in this stage of the competition, we can probably afford to lose one match and still make our way through as long as we win the other two relatively comfortably. So we can afford to lose one. I'm not advocating that West Indies lose one. I think we probably will lose one more than likely. But there is room for error because the top two from each group go through, but not a whole lot of room for error. So what I did, the first thing I did prior to doing this video is I was like, let me just do some quick little piece of research on the Hobart. So the ground we're playing on against Scotland is at I think it's the Belvedere Oval. I may have pronounced that wrong. Based on my quick research, it looks like in general a par score on that ground is 160 plus. So it's going to be a relatively high scoring ground, whether that be domestic T20s in the Big Bash, whether that be in the few, I think it's only been 3 international T20s that have been played at that ground. I think about 160 looks par. Again, this was quick research, people. I'm no like deep cricket analyst who spends all of their living hours looking at cricket, right? Again, with my quick analysis, I didn't see any discernible information that suggested to me that this is the type of ground that you go in with 2 spinners. Yes, I saw that spinners can take wickets there. Lamashane's played there in the Big Bash. Glenn Maxwell, obviously. I've seen performances there. I've seen a few notable performances here and there, but it doesn't look like the type of ground where you have to have 2 spinners. That said, looking at the West Indies T20 squad, I said it at the time and I'll say it still now. I am very surprised they did not take an off spinner. If I can only assume the plan is for Nicholas Pooran to bowl some off spin if needed. I don't necessarily agree with that plan. Obviously, we saw him take some wickets in the summer against, I think it was Pakistan. Was it Pakistan? Or was it India? I can't remember who it was against now. I think it was Pakistan. We saw him take some wickets earlier in the summer out of the blue. It was 4 wickets. It's quite a lot, 5 wickets even. So out of the blue, we saw that Nicholas Pooran is potentially an option as an off spinner. I don't recommend it, but I suspect if there's a matchup situation that we're going to see Pooran bowl maybe 1 over of off spin if needed. But I think this is where we look at the squad now and go, why did we not take another spin option in terms of a right hand off spin option? But it is what it is. So the point I'm trying to make is Yannick Karaya's bruised hand notwithstanding, I think you can already rule out the prospect of Yannick Karaya getting in the squad or in the final 11, I should say, because I think the injury, even though it's not an injury that should keep him out of playing, because it's bruising and because it's being monitored by the medical team, I don't see him starting. So that already narrows down your selection pool from 15 down to 14. So then the question is, what do we do with the opening positions? This is the biggest dilemma of them all for the West Indies going into this game. We've not played King and Mayers together at all in any of the warm-up games. Evan Lewis has only played 1. Johnson Charles has got all 3. So the question mark for me and where I think West Indies need to think about this is who's wicket keeping? Who is wicket keeping? Now, I just said about a minute and a half ago, is Nicholas Pooran our solitary off-spin option if we wanted it? Yes, he is. Look at the squad. There's no other off-spinner there, right? Not that I know of anyways. If they are considering Nicholas Pooran as an off-spin option, does that mean that they're going to have Johnson Charles behind the wicket? Now, Pooran wicket took the gloves for the second T20 against Australia. I can't remember if he took the gloves in the third one. It might have been Johnson Charles again. So for me, I'll stick my hat out now. Johnson Charles shouldn't play in the opening game. But I've been saying from the jump, and if you follow us on West Indies on 99.94, if you follow us on our Twitter, our Instagram, you can see the ticker tape scrolling at the bottom. Follow us on all of our platforms, Road to 4K on YouTube. I've been saying from the jump, Johnson Charles' ability to wicket keep, however people judge that, however poor you think he is behind the stumps, is possibly what gets him in the side here. Because to balance out the side, Nicholas may not A, want to wicket keep, B, he may feel he can make better captaincy decisions at cover or point or wherever it is he chooses to field. 3, Nicholas may say he might be needed to bowl, so he may not necessarily take the gloves. But that's all that said, I am not expecting Johnson Charles to play. I am expecting the openers for the Scotland game to be Carl Mayers. Carl Mayers is definitely playing 100%, right? I think they will go Carl Mayers and I think they will go Evan Lewis as the openers. I think they will have Brandon King at number 3. I hasten to add, I do not agree with this. This is just what I think they might do. I think they'll have Brandon King at number 3. I'm trying to do this live, people, to try and work this out for you. King at 3. I'm going to say Brooks at 4, but this is a question mark, and I'll come back to that in a minute. Brooks at 4, Puran at 5, Powell at 6. Are you following, people? So I've got Mayers, Lewis. Lewis has to get in due to his T20 international record and T20 record in general. They just have to take the gamble. You have to take, if you've gone through all this rigmarole of beefing Lewis and Lewis beefing Cricket West Indies and fitness test, this, that, when push comes to shove now, in the heat of the battle of a World Cup, turn to your experienced players. Yes, some of you will say that's what we did in 2021. It didn't work out. Cool, whatever. Turn to your experienced player. Lewis is one of the few experienced players in the squad, genuinely experienced players all around the world. You have to turn to him. Mayers, Lewis, King. Brooks, Puran, Powell. I still feel Puran and Powell are too low down at 5 and 6, and they potentially will float depending on the situation, as would a Brooks at number 4. Holder at 7. Holder at 7. Akil at 8. I hope you got your pen and your papers, people. I'm going again. Mayers, Lewis, King, Brooks, Puran, Powell, Holder, Hussain. That's your 8, right? 9. Oh, sugar. No, that's wrong, people. Number 8, Odean Smith. 9, Akil Hussain. 10, Alzari Joseph. 11, Obed McCoy. Right? So from that side, that means that who I leave out, Raymond Reefer doesn't get in. There's nowhere for Raymond Reefer to get into this side. I know against the UAE, I think he took 4 wickets. He might have even taken 3. Will that have made Phil Simmons and Cole turn their head and consider Raymond as a possible bowling option as well? Should they need to fill some overs if somebody like an Odean Smith goes for licks? Possibly. But I just don't have a spot for Raymond yet in the side. I don't have a spot for Yannick due to his bruising on his hand. So that's him out. Who else don't I have a spot for? Who am I leaving out here, people? I don't have a spot for Johnson Charles. The only way I have a spot for Johnson Charles is if they want him to wicket keep. And even then, I don't really want him in the side. But if Johnson Charles is wicket keeping, Evan Lewis isn't playing. Okay? So that's all I'm saying. If Johnson Charles does take the gloves and he gets in the side, Evan has to be out. That's who Charles comes in for. And lastly, I don't have a spot for Sheldon Cottrell. Now, the Sheldon one's an interesting one. If we want to take wickets up front, Sheldon should play. I'll say that again. If we want to take wickets up front in the power play, we have to find a way to get Sheldon in the side. But if we get Sheldon in the side, then Brooks has to come out of the side. So that's why I want people to weigh up. There's lots of permutations here. If Sheldon is in your team, it's not as a like for another bowler. Because in my side, the following bowlers are definitely playing. Jason Holder, Odean Smith, Akil Hussain, Alzari Joseph, Obed McCoy. That's 5. Those 5 are definitely playing in the side. Can you even see the 5? Those 5 are definitely playing in the side no matter what. Arguably, with those 5, that's also your 20 overs. But the likelihood is one of those 5 will take licks. So the next overs you're getting are probably from Carl Mayers, who could bowl 2, probably one up front in the power play, maybe even a second one in the power play if they want him to. So that's your 6th bowler. However, if you want Sheldon Cottrell in the side, I don't think you replace him for Obed McCoy. Obed has to play because Obed's probably the only person, along with Alzari Joseph, who you're going to trust at the death, right? You can't trust Sheldon at the death. So it'd be Obed and Alzari Joseph, who you're trusting for overs 17, 18, 19, 20, or 18, 19, 20. That's Obed and Alzari. Please don't give the ball to Jason Holder in the death. It's Obed and Alzari who should take the death overs. Old Dean Smith, an absolute push. And even then, I'm saying no. Probably Holder above Oldine if you had to go at the death, right? So if you want the extra comfort of somebody who you know can be effective in the power play, you take Brooks out. The problem with the problem with that option, so bringing in Sheldon for Brooks, is everyone then moves up one. So then your order would be Mayers, Lewis, King, Puran at 4, Powell at 5. That's all good. But then you then have either potentially a long tail, or you trust the fact that Jason Holder can bat at 6, Oldine Smith can bat at 7, Akil Hussain can bat at 8, and Alzari Joseph can bat at 9. It sounds like a long tail, but let me say those numbers again. Holder, Oldine, Akil Hussain, Alzari Joseph. It's whether Phil Simmons says that between those 4, you trust them with the bat. I think you can trust those 4 with the bat. I don't know how many runs exactly they can put together, but it shouldn't be a situation where we're looking at Jason Holder at number 6 and saying, I don't know if Jason Holder can play number 6. That seems a bit risky. If we are in a position where we think that Jason Holder at number 6 is risky, then what does that say about Jason Holder? Surely he can bat at number 6. Surely he can. Surely Oldine can bat at number 7. Surely Akil Hussain can bat at number 8. And surely Alzari Joseph can bat at number 9. So when you kind of extrapolate it all and break it down, this is what it fundamentally breaks down for me, people. If you play Shamar Brooks, you're trying to have 6 proper batters in the side. Mayers, Lewis, King, Brooks, Puran, Powell. And then you're saying that the next 5, Holder, Smith, Akil, Joseph McCoy, are your 5 auxiliary bowlers who will take up the majority of your 20 overs. That's probably the most balanced way of looking at the side. If you are worried about being penetrative in the power plays, Sheldon Cottrell has to play. Now, if Sheldon Cottrell is playing, one of the batters has to hold a drop. And the only batter that could hold a drop is Brooks. That then weakens your batting in so much as you're one proper batter light, but you're assuming that the bowling all-rounders lower down, your Holders, your Smiths, is Smith a bowling all-rounder? Whatever they're called, your all-rounders down the bottom, your Holders, your Smiths, your Akils, even your Alzaris, can hold their bat properly. It's a gamble to go like that, but I could see why they would gamble for the sake of being penetrative up front. Without Sheldon in the side, the question is, who are your penetrative bowlers up front? Alzari Joseph, yes. Who else? Jace? Obed? Akil usually takes the over at the end of the power play, the last one in the power play, or the first one after the power play. Occasionally, you'll see Akil actually bowl in the power play, but I don't think they genuinely want to do that unless there is a very, very favorable matchup. So it's a lot of pressure on Alzari Joseph's shoulders, although I think he'll be very good in this tournament, to bowl up front and take wickets. Whereas with Sheldon, we know that is his very obvious skill set. So what am I ultimately saying, people? Who are the definites in terms of not playing on Monday? Raymond Reefer, I think, definitely doesn't play. Yannick Correa, for me, definitely doesn't play. That leaves 13. So fundamentally, and as I bring this video to a close, from the remaining 13, this is what I put to all of you who are listening. Make sure you follow Caribbean Cricket Podcast, by the way. We got handles on YouTube, by the way, now, people, at Caribbean Cricket Podcast, also at Carib Cricket for Twitter, Instagram. Become a patron as well, please, people. I'll put that up in a minute. But ultimately, it comes down to the following for me, and this is what I want you and people in the comments to respond to. Evan Lewis or Johnson Charles? Shamar Brooks or Sheldon Cottrell? That's what I fundamentally think the selection will come down to. People, a little quick 20-minute video there. I've recorded this. I've actually got to leave in about half an hour. So I've done a quick little 20-minute video, put some content back up on our main channel. Get in the comments below, like the video, share, subscribe, follow Caribbean Cricket Podcast everywhere. Go to our website, www.caribbeancricketpodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Carib Cricket. As well, if you can, people, any support is good. You can become a patron. I just put that ticker tape at the bottom, www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. For as little as £2, $2 a month, you can be a supporter of what we try to do at the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. And stay locked for content, people. Like I say, I'll be doing live streams of our World Cup matches, at least one innings of 2 of the matches, and then going into the tournament. If we get through to the main stage, I'll weigh up what I can and can't do for the remainder of the tournament as well. So stay locked in, press that bell to get the notifications as to when we're putting stuff up on our main channel. And as always, people, share the Caribbean Cricket Podcast with your friends and your family. People, that's been, like I say, a very, very quick video. Take this back off the screen, bring myself up. That's been a very, very quick video. I've been Machel St. Patrick here at one half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Stay locked in, people, and see you soon. Later.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rules seems coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.